Everybody, Invisiblekatana here with my review for Boruto episodes 116 through 119, the Konohamaru and Remon arc, or however you're supposed to really pronounce her name. Four meh episodes. It took me, I'd say, like 2 days to actually watch through them. I don't know when you guys will actually see this as well. That's a totally different video, but my laptop is down, so me doing this review is probably going to be like a week after me uploading, I should say, will be like a week after me actually doing this review, because today's date it's September 30th. It's Monday. So that just gives you a range for whenever this upload was. My laptop is dead and I don't have a second one. So it's going to be real interesting this next little while. But these were episodes. Konohamaru, Remon, she comes from this village. We see her in the beginning of the this mini 4 episode arc. And it's like, okay, here she is. She's running from these people. It seems like she's just on the run. Konohamaru saves her, and of course you can tell just from the way the episode starts, where it's like, oh, Boruto, Satoru and Chocho are watching this movie. Boruto thought it was going to be an action movie. It ends up being like this romantic drama, and it's like, of course they were in love with each other, but they couldn't be together, that sort of thing, and he just didn't understand it. So it was like, okay, obviously that's what's going to happen. Konohamaru rescues this woman. He runs like insanely far. That was one random thing that I noticed. I was like, why is he still jumping? Like, he caught her and then they left and then he leaped and was gone. Like, it was almost like 30 straight seconds of him just running. And I'm like, why is he still like jumping across rooftops? Like, obviously they aren't chasing him. I just thought that was a super random thing that I noticed. I was like, he's going insanely far. They even kind of say it where he's like, sorry, I got carried away. He was talking about like going super high up in the air, but I was like, he went really far for that. Like, it was odd. Like, he caught her and then just went forever, so it was weird. But anyway, they have this romantic little moment, and she rescues him, or he rescues her, and it reminded me, oddly enough, I think it was just the visuals of it. Actually, it made me think of Minato and Kushina when they were kids, and that scene when she like first falls in love with him. I felt like it looked just like that. Of course, it was in a totally different location. It was at night, and it was an actual combat situation. But I was like, man, I feel like it was almost that same scenario. It was like obviously one person carrying the other, so it's easy to connect those two. But I was like, something about it just instantly gave me those flashbacks. But they end up kind of bonding a little bit. They go, and Boruto's like, oh, well, since we're hanging out or whatever, we'll show you around. I went to go get a new burger. So they get this sour burger. Boruto loves it. Ramon loves it. Konohamaru does not like sour food. I thought it was interesting. Lemons on a burger. I was like, okay, I love sour stuff, but I don't know if I like sour on my burger, especially like just straight up lemons. I was like, interesting. But they go through this whole process. It's generic. It is what it is. As things start to build up throughout this little arc, it's like, all right, we find out where she's from. We find out that she's actually supposed to get married. When she goes back to the town, and they're like, oh man, I have her handkerchief. So they end up going back. They make an excuse to go back, at least, because Boruto starts to realize what's going on. It's like, oh, they kind of had feelings for each other. So he's trying to help basically his big brother out. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. So they go, and it's like, oh, well, she's acting really weird. And so they stay in the village to see what's going on. The dude that she's supposed to marry is acting real suspicious and evil and stuff. And we find out later on that he's actually being completely controlled by this spirit Soma. And I thought that was a cool idea. I thought that was a cool concept within the arc, where it's like, hey, this is the history of this little village, and this woman fought this old demon spirit. And we find out in like the very last episode that she was able to chop off like one of the horns, and that's why she was able to seal it. But because she wasn't able to chop off both, that's why they have to go through that ritual every 100 years. I thought they were showing that because, of course, it was going to be like, all right, well, if they chop off both of the horns, then it could change things, and like she might have her memories back. And they even reference the fact that as it dies, Boruto's like, oh, are those all the memories that it sucked in? And I was like, okay, well, they just show like two separate things that make it seem like they're gonna get their memories back, and none of that happened. So I thought that was really weird. I was very surprised with the sort of bittersweet ending that they gave it, because it was like, okay, well, they tease that if you do two horns, it was like, okay, it makes sense. Two horns, instead of being the thing that allows people to keep their memories, it just straight up kills someone. I was like, okay, that's simple. Like, all right, I was wrong. It makes sense. Cutting off both horns would just kill the demon. And then to have Boruto make that reference, like, are those all the memories that it ate? And it's like, and it looked like, specifically the way they animated it, it looked like the memories were like shooting out kind of back into the world. So it was super weird to even bother putting that in and then be like, yeah, maybe those were the memories, but I guess they weren't the memories, or if they were, it didn't, they didn't go back to the bodies. But it just seemed weird to do it specifically like that and like draw so much attention to it, and then it's just like nope, everything came out exactly the same way, except of course they killed it because they cut off both horns. They killed the demon instead of just sealing it again. And I was like, okay, that part made sense with the two horns, but why have Boruto mentioned all the memories like flashing and seemingly looking like they're shooting out of this spirit as it's dying? I thought that was really weird, but bittersweet ending. And Konohamaru decides not to go see her, and she eats the sour burger again, and she cries because it's nostalgic. So some of that is still in her. So I thought that was nice. And Boruto gives Konohamaru like the sour burger at the end. I thought that was a cool move too. So like, all right, they have these little moments here and there. Other than that, there really wasn't much in the middle. I honestly feel like out of all these episodes, the only cool stuff they did at the end was like the tiny bit of action that we got, which is really just like two sealing jutsus. And it was cool to see that Konohamaru actually has two summoning contracts, because we saw him do like the toads in the beginning of the series, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. He follows after Naruto. And then in this, we see that he has the monkey summoning as well, and I thought that was super cool. It was like him following after his grandfather. So he has Inra, who's, I would assume, like the son of Inma, if I remember the name correctly. So he's like a smaller staff, but I thought that was pretty cool. He's got kind of a similar jacket and stuff. And so they work together to do this big sealing jutsu, and Boruto, drops all the tags on the walls and stuff. And it's just too much of a seal, or it's too powerful for them to actually contain it, and they both run out of chakra, and so it fails. But I thought that was a cool moment, seeing like the monkey paw like come out of the ground and stuff. I was like, that's visually, that just looks really cool. So that was nice, but ultimately everything fails, and then of course Remon does end up losing her memory. So I was like, okay, twist, a bit of a twist. Everything they did failed, and even saving her at the end ultimately just led to the same story. Like they killed the demon, and that was really the only difference, and she still lost her memory. So I was like, okay, bittersweet ending. I did like it. The last episode was definitely my favorite episode out of all of them. The one where Boruto was getting his memory back. So I guess technically like the third and fourth episode were my two favorites, and the first two were kind of annoying to me just a little bit. That I thought was an interesting episode too. He was very fortunate. One of the other random things I noticed, he fell in the water and it just took him all the way home. And I was like, that's insanely fortunate, because I don't think they were that close. I guess technically they walk everywhere, so it's hard to say when they are or aren't close to some other village. I was like, he fell in that insanely CG water. I thought, I was like, man, they put like some super special effects on that 3D water. And he falls in, and then he wakes up, and he's just by the three posts. And I was like, huh. He just took him all the way home. He was totally fine. He was just dingy. And I was like, that's weird. But once again, whatever. So, go through that process. No big deal. Simple little arc. It's kind of what I expected. I was like, okay, it's going to be like a love arc. And nothing really happens. At first, I thought this was going to be Boruto finding out that Konohamaru had a girlfriend. And I was like, oh, that would be interesting to actually add to that. But I think I would have preferred that, even though it's still, heck, even now it was still annoying. It wasn't cool. It wasn't, nothing cool really happened. So I think that I would have enjoyed more, because at least it would have been something permanent. It would have been like, oh, he actually does have a girlfriend, or something new. And really, it was just like any generic filler arc. This thing happens, you have some cool character moments, but ultimately everything goes right back to how it was beforehand, because eventually, who knows when, they're going to start getting to the manga stuff. So I was like, all right, it is what it is. Not great, not horrible, but I feel like there hasn't really been a completely horrible episode. Even the ones that seem like they're going to be horrible, they're just boring. They aren't horrible, it's just boring. And that's just kind of what makes the show itself seemingly horrible, because you have a lot of boring episodes. But I'm open with this next arc based on all the little images that I keep seeing for all the episodes I'm behind on. The next one is Boruto trying to get to Sasuke. And it seems like he goes to the Hidden Sand Village. And I know that the other kids start to come in and stuff like that. So hopefully this is all one big arc, because once again, that would also be great just for me reviewing everything all at one time. But it seems like it's going to be really good. Like a lot of stuff based on a lot of the images I've seen, which is really just the thumbnails per episode. They seem good. I'm like, all right, we might be getting into something worthwhile. I hope that's the case. I really hope I'm not wrong. But I'm actually excited to get into this next episode. I don't think Sasuke's even going to be in it. They had Sasuke's hawk, and I'm like, he's just going to be running to get to Sasuke. So I might not like this very next episode. But maybe at the end of that, we'll see Sasuke, and then something cool will start happening. So that's my hope. But for now, 4 episodes. Konohamaru was cool. Didn't use the Rising God. Would have liked to have seen that. Would have been cool to see him summon more. Would have been cool to see a fight. Admittedly, it was 4 episodes of them talking. When you really think about it, it was like, oh, this mystery's happening. It was like, this dude's bad. They gotta rescue her. But they don't actually even fight. Like, even when the guard stuff happens, they don't go back in and end up fighting the guards, because by the time they get there, it's already been revealed that Soma was possessing the other dude. So he breaks the stone. It's like, okay, well, there's no misunderstanding anymore. It's like, hey, we're here to help. And they're just fighting a ghost. So no ninjutsu works on it. No physical attacks work on it. So it was just the 2 ceiling jutsus. And it's like, man, we're on episode 4. They didn't fight a single person. And that's kind of boring. And it's not like the dialogue was anything great. It was like pseudo-romantic love stuff. And it was a filler, so I was kind of assuming it wasn't going to mean much, and it didn't. She literally lost her memories and can't be in love with the guy anymore. So it was like, whatever. Like I said, hoping the next episode or this next arc is really cool and entertaining and is at least like 20% as epic as the freaking openings they've been giving us. I don't know if the opening has changed at this point, but all I want is something close to that. They keep showing these cool fight scenes and stuff. They had it for the last season. I mentioned this is probably like the 3rd time I've ranted about the opening being super sweet and the season just being dumb. But I'm hoping that this is where it's headed. Somewhere cool. So that's my thoughts on these 4 episodes, of course. Would love to know what you guys thought about it. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. Let me know your favorite parts about it, least favorite parts about it. If there's something that was super cool to you with these 4 episodes, I would love to know, like, what really caught your attention. So please put your comments down in the comment section below. And of course, thanks for watching.